Yo, it's Ben Memo back with me. So the reason anybody should love One Piece is because it's not only a metaphysical story about sun gods and the savior and about the archetype of liberation, but it's also telling you how, you know, the sun god will liberate people or liberate everybody and bring the world back to one piece, right? So we know the story pretty much started where the Goa kingdom was like a unified kingdom over 900 years ago. And you know, there was 20 kingdoms outside of this kingdom that didn't like the fact that everybody was unified. So they plotted against the kingdom and overthrew the kingdom. And this would be Emu as well as the elders and many others, the kingdoms that weren't a part of this union. So they had to. So the people from the ancient kingdom had to go and hide all the information on road poneglyphs and in books and things like that, and they had to go and hide this information because they were going the newly formed world government was destroying all the information. So we're talking about how even now when we're dealing with us people as spiritual beings, they did this. They burned down libraries. They burned down all the information of the old world. And they formed this newly fashioned governmental system. So the elders are the 5 planets, right? We know this. Emu is Umi, because Emu backwards is Umi, and Umi is talking about Umibozo, which is a demon of the water in your Japanese mythology. So what they're saying is that Emu is actually this chaos water entity. And Luffy is the sun god. He is the sun. He brings the light, the sun. Now, the planets are archons, or they're the elders, or the ones that lock people down or control people, while the sun always sets you free, the soul. Also, I want y'all to remember that with the mother flame and the Uranus and the other ancient weapons, Emu had sunk the other islands. So what happened was the world went from one piece and got separated. So we're talking about how everybody got divided. We have all these different kingdoms where he could stay in power. So that's what Joy Boy would be, is an embodiment of the solar energy to free people through this liberation of laughter and joy. And so he comes, and this will of Joy Boy is only the will of Nika, because the will of Nika is what humans constructed in the mind of themselves. So as they wanted this, they dreamed it into reality, it became so that they had a savior. So Joy Boy pretty much knew he couldn't finish the mission, so he had to hide the road poneglyphs in different places. Because you had the poneglyphs, which is about 30 of them. Then you have the road poneglyphs, which is about the red ones. So the red ones lead to you to find where the actual One Piece is. But what it is he hid these road poneglyphs of information because he knew that the right person would find it at the right time, because it's the will of D. So at this time, this world government had been formed, where you have a complete system of Emu, the 5 elders, the celestial dragons, and then you have all of your admirals and everybody else coming after that. Of course, the warlords of the sea and the emperors. So this is like us in real life. Although the world government could control certain people, there were certain powers that they couldn't stop from rising. So you have pirates that are called emperors of the sea, even above warlords. Warlords were a part of the government, but the emperors were too strong for the government to control. So they became a necessary force or opposition to the world government. Same thing with Dragon in the Revolutionary Army. He was in the Navy, but realized how corrupt it was and became a natural opposing force to this incorrupt system, or this corrupt system, this unjust system. So you feel me? Dragon, which is Luffy's dad, is the embodiment of a revolutionary to be able to change the system. And everybody knows in mythology, Quetzalcoatl is the one that controls the wind and the weather and the storms and different weathers. So what is his power? It is a power to control wind, storms, and so forth and so on. So he's the dealing with change. So we're understanding how, how Dragon is dealing with change. So at this point, there was a man named Roger, and Roger had created a crew to go find the rest of the road poneglyphs. Him being smart and as well as, strong enough to pretty much travel the world to collect these 4 major road poneglyphs, which are the red. So X marks the spot. This X would actually lead you to wherever, or that center point is what actually leads you to wherever the One Piece was. And he ended up finding Laugh-Tale. Right? So on Laugh-Tale, he pretty much found something that made him laugh, but he couldn't tell you what it was. He wanted you to go find it for yourself. So he already knew what it was, but he knew it wasn't his time to deliver it to the people. So he decided to turn himself in to the world government because he knew he was sick and he was dying, and he gave the will of D onto the next person, onto the next people. This is also why he started, said that big speech before he told everybody to go out and find the One Piece, and so they could be the pirate. And between all this, you got a young boy named Monkey D. Luffy who eats this devil fruit. Now remember, Monkey D. Luffy is this embodiment of freedom. Remember, liberation and freedom work together. So when you talk about how you have oppressors that bind you, you have to be liberated by a solar force. So what it is Luffy eats the Gummo Gummo no Mi. He eats the gum fruit that makes his limbs stretchy. But what it is really creativity. So Monkey D. Luffy is an embodiment. Well, remember, monkey is what? Sun Wukong. This is talking about Sun Wukong, because Monkey D. Luffy. D is the will. We're gonna talk about what D represents too. But Monkey D. Luffy is talking about the will of D. What is the will of D? The will of Dawn. And we're gonna go back into that in a second. So at this point, there was many different races and hybrid races of beings that were created and made, and they were all over the planet. So you had you had your humans, the Celestials, the Giants, you had your fishmen, the mermaids, the Skypians, Shadorians, you feel me, long-legged tribe, which is you have your dwarves, minks, so forth and so on. All these different races of species of beings, and this is just symbolism for us in real life, how we have all these different races of beings, but we think it's just us humans. And that was the illusion that the world government put on people, for them to be trapped and think that, that we can't come together as people, even though we're different species. At this point, Blackbeard, so we know after Shanks had gave Luffy the devil fruit, even though he tried to make it look like it's an accident, we know that it was actually meant for him to eat that devil fruit. So Luffy goes out to sea, becomes, gets stronger, but he reaches a point where, Ace, he has to go save his brother, because Blackbeard's plot was to, turn Ace in and to get this war started so he can start plotting on, the One Piece and stuff like that. So when you talk about after Ace was captured and they took him in, pretty much after this war, Luffy tried to go to save Ace during this war. He realized his shortcomings, so he had to go and train. So Luffy goes and trains. He becomes stronger. What does he learn? He learns Haki. What is Haki? So he has a devil fruit ability, which is ability given to him by dreams. Then he has something called Haki. So people dream devil fruits into existence to achieve a certain purpose of whatever their dream was. So when you talk about Haki is spiritual energy. So what they do is understanding Haki is, so life force is what brings you to life, but spiritual energy emanates off of your body, off of your essence. So what it is that spiritual energy is how he trained his spirit and his mind to be able to cultivate this spiritual energy further. So he gets different forms of Haki. He gets observation, the ability to see things before they happen. He gets what you call armament, which is the ability to have spiritual armor around your body based off of the aura. He gets conquerors, which is the ability to coach yourself without being touched with your aura. Understanding all this is spiritual energy. So the sun god must learn to become stronger through building himself up, his soul up, or his solar power up. So the sun god goes through his training. Also, if I didn't say this, that whole point of him going to Skypiea was just premonition for you to understanding all the things that was going to happen with the ancient weapons and everything else that was coming forth. So Skypiea and these different beings had the information about the old world. So after his training, pretty much after Kuma had sent, Luffy and them to train, with his paw cannon, you understand that Kuma itself is a buccaneer giant, and Kuma had pretty much been through so much pain and so much anguish since a child because of his family lineage as a buccaneer, and a buccaneer is related to the giants. So remember, they always try to get rid of the ancient races that could connect people back to the real history. That's why Kuma went through so much. So Kuma was a man of faith. He had a Bible in his hand. He had a man of faith, always believing in the warrior of liberation, the sun god, right? Sun god Nika. Understanding sun god Nika represented his liberation. And that this is the whole point. This is why he moves with a rhythm, because everything, you feel me, is energy. So what is the will of Nika? To bring the dawn. And what is the dawn? The dawn of a new time, of a new era, a new world. Remember, dawn is talking about in the morning time. So as the sun rises, we exude or expel the darkness coming forth.